we are again with episode 8 of Josh and Reid Are Parents. In this episode, the guys discuss the wild schedules they both navigate during the summer and begin a new series on fears in parenting. Oh, and be sure to follow us on Instagram. We put clips and information about all the cool stuff they're working on.
Guys, welcome to the next episode of Josh and Reid Are Parents. I am Josh.
I'm Reid.
And we're parents.
We're parents.
Are you holding up 9? Is episode 9? Is that what this is?
That was 8.
Dang it, I'm terrible at counting.
Episode 8. Or German. I should have done the German.
The German 3 is it does look better. You're right.
Way easier to see.
The fact that we've gotten through 8 of these things feels like a full win. Like an entire dub.
Yeah.
But Reid and I were talking about Reid's like a full-time youth minister, and so summer's like his go period. He's got a lot going on. Reid, so we're doing just a quick check-in. Reid, how are you, man? Are you okay? You all right?
I'm living. We're living the good life.
Yeah, you are.
It's going good. Everything's good. I had a big event last week, Wednesday to Saturday, like 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day, and just blowing and going, having fun. And no, it's been really good. Started to feel connected and like we're, I don't know, making progress or something. I don't know. That sounds weird to say out loud, but like, yeah, it's just good. Like things are fun and rewarding, and our students are amazing. So I'm really good on that front. How about you? How's life in Atlanta?
Atlanta's good, man. It's hot here. I don't know if it's as hot as it is in.
Yeah, we had 105 today already.
Yeah, it's not that
105.
hot. It's not that hot. Did I tell you that's a dry heat? So much nonsense. I hate it when I remember I lived in Abilene for 4 years and I hated it when they said that. I was like, I don't care what we're talking about. It's just so hot. So Atlanta's hot, but not quite that hot. Atlanta's good, man. We're doing really well over here.
Yeah.
Jonas is in his 10U baseball all-star season, and I've been asked kindly, kind of rudely, I don't know, kind of pushing me towards coaching that, and so I did. And
Coach Thames.
A lot of Coach Thames happening over here. So we're doing that. We're having a lot of fun. It's been really, really fun. It's a good squad. Yeah. Joe loves every bit of it. He doesn't like striking out. It's not as much fun, but I mean, that's what we're doing, right? That's what baseball is, man. We're just learning to manage a little failure here. It's good for us. Yeah.
I always thought Tom Hanks was wrong. I always thought there was crying in baseball because I cried a lot in baseball.
I'll tell you what, in 10U baseball, there is a lot of crying in baseball. A lot of crying.
I did not. I also was very competitive, and I did not like striking out.
My like most of my job is to not do like strategery, as we talked about. It's not about being like strategizing. It is about managing 10-year-olds' feelings, 9-year-old feelings about whatever is happening currently. That's most of the job.
Yeah, and it's impossible. That's the hardest.
There's no
give me the strategy instead. Let's go to the shift.
Yeah.
That'd be way easier. Shift.
Over, guys.
This guy pulls.
This dude.
He can't go opposite. Just shift.
This dude that looks bigger than me and definitely stronger than everyone on the field is about to hammer it, boys. So I don't know. Step back.
Hey, we're gonna walk this guy. Put him on.
We did that
strategy.
Oh man.
Yeah, of course. We're not going to throw this guy. I'm not stupid.
Nah, man.
Another 10.
Nah, man. My guy Carlos is on the mound.
We just want to be in the game.
We're not throwing to this dude. We're not throwing to him.
No way.
So,
not a chance.
We're having a really good time. Summer's really fun. Joe is is thriving. He's doing really good. So things are going well, man. I don't know. We've like, our both of our summers are kind of like, just like scheduling insanity. And so we might not put out quite as many podcasts over the summer as we have over the last few weeks, but we're going to keep grinding, man. Episode 8. Mm-hmm. I'm proud of us, man. What do you think?
I'm pretty pumped about it.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, but I think I'm a better parent when we sit down and talk about parenting, because it's like this weird forced reflection time of like the ways that I am screwing up and can be better, which is really healthy in a lot of ways. To be like, wait, how can I be better at this? And so I like just it hasn't been that long since we went out, but it's been like a longer break, and I'm like, oh man, I'm slipping.
We gotta get back in there.
Give me an episode, Josh. I need help.
We need to get back in the lab a little bit, figure this thing out. That's exactly how I feel. For me, for sure, one of the things that's really interesting about me, I don't know if you feel like this when you're in the ministry, Reid. For me, one of the toughest things is that like this is a little bit of my job is talking to parents who are having really hard moments with their kiddos, or talking to kiddos that are in the midst of hard moments. And so like that's a lot of my occupation. And so like I have a lot of really cool ideas and strategies and things that like we try to approach and yada yada yada, and then I come home and do it on the ground. It's overwhelming for me. I know the stuff, like I read the things. Parenting is just such a hard thing, and it's one of the reasons why we do this podcast is because we love talking about how hard it is and how beautiful it is, and how we're like the people that are around us and that we see doing it are just trying so hard to do it well. I don't know. I feel like that's like a really cool thing that I don't know, a lot of our audience I think shares. Like we're just trying really hard to figure out how to do this well, and it's really really tough to do. One of the things that Reid and I often talk about, like in general, but especially like when we're preparing for podcasts, is the idea of like not just how hard it is to be a parent, but like how scary it is, right? Yeah. And we think about a lot about the idea of like what kind of fears that we bring to parenting. I don't know, Reid, like for you, do you find like fears and anxieties as like kind of a big part of things you have to work through in your parenting?
Yes. I'm constantly battling almost like subconscious narratives in my brain that are trying to like show up and tell a story about who Henry should be, or what his life should look like, or the things that I hope that he becomes or does or whatever. Yeah. And a lot of it is all connected to this, to the fears that I have about him maybe not accomplishing or achieving or being successful or whatever other type of word about reaching goals. Might want to throw at it, but like, and I don't know exactly what to do about it all the time. And I notice it. I noticed a great uptick in moving into kindergarten. Of like he's now in school, even though it's kindergarten. And kindergarten's just fun all the time, but like they do map testing. Yeah. They do testing for like gifted and talented and all this stuff, and it's kind of like even just that first move of like there's raised stakes. I'm like, whoo boy, okay, like this is going to be a real thing. And so my empathy for my parents that I work with who are parenting teenagers, where like you move from middle to high school and now the grades count, or like toward your GPA to get into college, or like just those raised stakes that are happening all the time as your child gets older. And I'm constantly battling and wondering about like how do I kind of like capture my fears, and how am I aware of my fears enough to know that like, or maybe not to know, how am I aware of my fears enough to not put them onto him,
sure,
and to then make them his fears.
Yeah,
and instead, like hopefully, I don't know, navigate a space with him to know like where I don't know, not pressing that onto him. That's redundant now.
But like being constantly afraid though of like what are the things, all the things that he could fail or hurt him or not do well and all that kind of stuff. And oh man, me too. Like I know for sure. For me, what I realize when I'm in moments of clarity and moments of calm, that a lot of the choices I make inside of parenting are based in fear. And I wish that wasn't necessarily the case, but at a lot of my, at least at the very least, a lot of my reactive parenting is fear based, right? And we try really hard to be proactive and intentional about what we're doing and how we're doing it, but like that's not always possible just as a human. So like almost 100% of the time, I don't know if I can clarify it 100%, but like almost 100% of the time, my reactive parenting is just based in things I'm afraid of, right? Things that I worry about.
Right.
And like just for me and like the things that I have, anxiety and fear and worry is something that I've held since I was like a child, right? And it's something I've worked through and had to deal with. And so the anxieties that like I hold are like very, very like comfortable for me. Like that's something I walk all the time. Yeah. And so how am I intentional enough? Am I aware enough of those things to not project them onto Joe? right? To not push those things on him. And like, the question is like, I don't know, man. And like, is there intentionality that I can do and bring that? I find often, I wonder, I really am interested in this from like a ministry perspective, Reid, but like what I see often inside of my therapy room are parents who are really, really struggling and a lot of times really, really angry, right? And really, really overwhelmed. Yeah. And that what they really are below that is they're really, really afraid for their kid and for what happens to their kid. And I think there's a lot of that. And I wonder how you feel about that from like, I don't know, as you like see your kids and your families go through that stuff.
Yeah, I think the fear among parents needs to be validated. I think a lot of times it's like, oh, well, just don't be afraid.
Right.
Why are you afraid? I think there's a reason so many parents are. I was getting lunch with a long-term elder from our church, and he and a few other couples have been asked. This is before I got here, but they'd been asked to come and teach a parenting class and like spend a few weeks with the parents and just like, talk about what parenting was like for them and create space and those sorts of things. And he's fantastic. And in our conversation, he was reflecting on now, even 5 or 6 years later since that class, they left that class wondering like, man, like the parents are so afraid. Like that's the number one response that we're getting about what it's like to parent right now is it's scary and we're afraid. And I've been wondering if like how much of that is connected to like a lot of the other things that we're experiencing in our world, like, but just connected to the fact that we are seeing stories from literally the entire world at all times. It's being sent to our tiny little device and we see it constantly. Right. And then how to like navigate that at all.
Man, I think 30 years ago, I think the idea of being afraid of things was still very present. I think being fearful as a parent is a universal truth. Like, I think that's just scary.
Yes.
But I also think that fears are more difficult to manage when I get constant like examples of how scary things actually are in the world all the time. That's
what I was trying to say.
Right. Yeah. Like, I think us managing that is something that I don't think anyone's been prepared for yet. And I think it always puts us on edge. Yeah. And here's what I'm really interested in, Reid, is this idea that like, because those fears are just kind of ever present with us, like not just like some sort of like existential thought that we have to deal with sometimes, but like sometimes concrete examples that are in front of us, literally in our palm all the time.
Yeah.
I think that it's really, really tempting. And I wonder if this is where a lot of parents come from, that like we feel as though it's almost irresponsible to not parent through fear, right? Like if I'm not parenting through fear, am I protecting my kid enough? Am I keeping them safe enough? Or like, am I helping them enough? I don't know. Does that resonate? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And like, what then do I do? Because like, I can't, like, I don't want a helicopter or snowplow parent where like I'm just hovering all the time and make sure everything's fine, or even like creating a path so they don't have any resistance in life. Yeah. Which is like the ultimate version of those things you're talking about. And I also don't want to be a parent that's just like neglectful and is like, you'll be fine. Just go down to the creek. You don't know how to swim. Figure it out. Sure. Like what? Obviously, polar crazy examples. Right. But like, but how do I navigate actual parenting and being conscious of my fears without being overrun by my fears?
I think this is a question that is connected to parenting fears. And I think it's a really good question. And I think it is a really freaking hard question to answer, Reid. And it is this idea of like, what is responsible parenting? And what is responsible parenting for an infant? What is a responsible parenting for a toddler? What's a responsible parent like for a teenager? And like that word responsible is a fascinating word to me. And I think really, really difficult to pin down. And I think the answer is probably individual inside of that. And what I don't want anyone to hear is that like I have all the answers here. But I do think that there are some things that we can be honest about inside of it, right? I do think that we can be intentionally aware of like how we're approaching that question, because I think a lot of parents would answer that from the heart of their, like the base level of them. But I think the parents that are trying really hard to be really good parents answer it somewhere around here, somewhere in the realm of, I want them to be capable and prepared, and I want them to be kind and good, right? Like that's what I want for my kid as they move from me. I think there's different words, and I think there's different like ways of thinking about that, and different verbiage, and a lot of that. But I think that's what like the heart of like really good parents that are trying really hard to be good parents really want their kids to be capable and prepared, and like kind and good, right? Like, I think that's reductionist, but I think that's close. But I think that's at least, Reid, that's how I want to parent. And I don't think that that's actually true of me on the ground most of the time, because I don't want just that. I also want him to have power and talent and authority and money-making ability and marketability and all of those things, because I'm really, really afraid that he's not going to be able to make it on his own comfortably, right? Which is not those other criteria. I don't know.
Yeah, and like I want him to be cool.
Me too.
Which is so silly to say out loud, but like I do. I want to be able to make friends and feel connected. Whatever cool means. Like it doesn't have to be like, a certain type of cool, but like cool in the realm in which he has passions and cares and desires to be good at things. Like cool looks like a lot of different things, but like I want him to be able to be connected to people and cared for and supported in community and those sorts of things. And so I guess what I'm wrestling with a lot is like what's beneath my fear. Like if I were to drill down into it, what is it that's underneath it that I'm pulling from? And I think a lot of it's good stuff, right? Like if I were to open it up and look inside, like the reactive stuff that happens from the fear isn't good, but beneath the fear is a lot of good stuff, because I want him to be healthy and capable and use his giftedness and all the things we heard Melanie say in episode 6 of empowering her teenage daughter to drive and those sorts of things. Like, even though it was scary, like how do we, what does it look like to drill down beneath that fear and see what's underneath it as a parent?
I mean, I think if you do that and you're willing to actually be introspective towards yourself and not just burrow down into the depth of your kid all the time, right? But also really do the work inwardly. I think awareness of my fear and even naming what that fear is, like honesty around what that fear is helpful. Because I think a lot of us come towards things that say like, no, I'm not worried about him being successful. I don't need him to be wealthy. I don't necessarily even, I don't care if he's cool until he's not invited to that party, or you're not afraid that he's not going to be included, or he's not going to be have good enough grades to get into whatever school you want. You know what I mean? Like, we believe that stuff until like rubber meets the road a little bit, right? So if I can be aware of what I actually am afraid of from my perspective, then I at least have a shot of not necessarily projecting that onto him. If I can have awareness. And here's this next thing that I'm really interested in this thought process, Reid, and like really believe in it, at least in my parenting and a lot of the work I do inside my therapy room, is this idea of calm, of cultivating calm as like one of the foundational tools that we can rely on to help work through how do I deal with hard, scary, fearful moments, right? Is it possible for me to, at the very least, show calm, even if I'm not calm, right? I work with a lot of kids, specifically with ADHD, and one of kind of the foundational things I work with those parents is kids with ADHD, especially. And I think this is generally true of a lot of kids that are just dysregulated and having a hard time. But like from that perspective, kids with ADHD need someone else's calm, because they don't have it. Like in the moments of great dysregulation, especially at younger ages, it's not like you can't talk them into calm. Like you can't talk them into it because they don't have it. It's like trying to talk them into having $50. Like they don't have it. right? Instead, what I have to do is I have to be the calm for them. They can borrow my calm. And I think that that's like a really, really, really good skill for every parent all the time, is figuring out, hey, can I show calm? And then this is even further than that, which is like so like convicting to me because I'm not here. Like, can I cultivate calm as truth in me? Right. So can I have emotions of fear and worry and scare, like, you know, being scared of things and like hurt by things and overwhelmed by things. And then still also along with those things, have calm inside of me that I've cultivated. That's a lot, man. But I don't know. Like, I think that would be a really, really like helpful tool for parents, you know?
Yeah. I think about it a little bit theologically, and Walter Brueggemann, the Old Testament scholar, has like this way of talking about the Psalms.
Yeah.
He says there's like 3 types of Psalms. There's orientation Psalms where things are relatively normal. There's disorientation Psalms when things are not good. And then there's reorientation songs and Psalms when things are returning to orientation, to some sort of normalcy. And I think parenting is actually those experiences at all times.
Feels like exactly right.
I think it's this a wide range of emotions that are constantly in flux, and I'm trying to hold them all in tension and knowing that I'm not actually at peace with this thing, but I'm going to present peace for my child because they need to receive peace from me because I want them to know that I support them in this, whatever it may be, whatever theoretical thing. And so there's this like the ancient wisdom of like humans forever have been wrestling with these things, whether it's in parenting or in how do we exist as people, as bigger groups, how do we exist as like one-on-one relationships, whatever it is. Like the Psalms capture all of it, from like full on rejoicing to full on like, God, this is all your fault.
Right.
And it's all in there. And like whatever it is you're experiencing as a parent in your statement or in your fear and your anxiety is like, yeah, it's in there. Like you're not alone in it, and you're not the first one to feel it. And I hope that like cultivating calm is not like a magic phrase. Like we're not saying like, oh, this is going to be the thing. We're saying like, I think what Josh is saying, what I'm hearing Josh say is like, cultivating calm is an invitation to say like, even when I don't feel it, I want my child to know that I am a place that they can return to. That because home, like I want to be home for my child.
Right. That they can go through hard things, and that I can be with them in that hard thing, and I can provide calm to them. Right. Because I have it, because I've worked hard to cultivate it. And like, if my kid doesn't have it, if they aren't sure of it, I can provide that to them, and I can show them how to be regulated in hard moments. Right? Because what I don't do inside of that, what's not necessarily what's inhuman, what doesn't make any sense, is to pretend that those things aren't happening. Right? To just say like, hey, no, you're not, everything's fine. There's nothing to be afraid of. Yeah, there is. There's a lot to be afraid of. Right? Yeah, there's plenty to be afraid of. There's really, really hard things. And being a kid is like, it's so hard for us it's so easy for us to forget what it is to be a kid sometimes. But like, things that we have worked out as adults and understand really aren't like high leverage and really aren't that big of a deal. We like, kids do not have perspective on that, man. And these moments where like I'm left out of a party, or I'm like someone says something mean to me, or I get an 85 on a test and my friends get a 92, like those things aren't small. Like they like, and then there's 1,000 more things past that. But like, these things feel overwhelming to kids, and trying to talk them out of those feelings does not help. Instead, what helps is this idea of saying like, I am with you in it, and I'm not afraid of it. Like, or at the very least, I can be calm in the midst of it with you. Right. Because like I can do that with you. And I just think that that's such like a powerful thing. I see a lot of parents, and I know by seeing a lot of parents, I see one in the mirror that tries at times really hard to like just talk our kids out of hard things. Like, this isn't hard, like you're going to be okay, or this isn't like, and I just wonder instead if we can let things be hard and let affirm the difficulty of life, and then still say like, I'm still here and I'm still with you, and I can be emotionally regulated and calm in this moment with you. So all of your worries and all of your fears can be laid upon me, and I can hold it with you. Oh, man, I want that so badly, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And like being a non-anxious presence for your child doesn't mean that you don't experience anxiety.
That's exactly right.
Right? It means that I've learned to regulate in a way and cope in a way that's at least some capacity healthy. And I can then hold space for my child to sit inside of that non-anxious presence, even when it's hard.
I think it always comes back down to, if I work on myself to be healthy, if I am working through the hard things in me, it allows me to be the place where my kids can find health and consistency as well. Right. I think that's the work. So often we try to do external work on our kids, and I think the real work is internal stuff that we're called to. And I think that's a big one, is cultivating that calm. So
we talked, I don't remember what number it was now, but we did one on Luke 15. Yeah. And I think the hallmark of that story, and I'm stealing Josh's quote here, is that the dad is never afraid. Yeah. There's no fear in the father, and whether that's because he knows he's not responsible for his child's choices, and he's not ashamed of them either, which is pretty shocking in it. But instead, he is fully aware and fully calm in it and with them. And again, it's a parable, so it's just a story that Jesus made up to make a point. But it is an invitation to, like, what does grace-filled parenting look like? What does that father, man, to not have fear in that moment, and to say, like, yeah, I'm gonna hold space for my son.
You know what I hear in that so often, and what I see in that story, Reid, because you're right, like it's just a fictional story. This is a fictional father, but I think that the point of this was that Jesus was trying to show us who the Father is, right? Like, this is how the Father loves. And in that, like, I wonder if a father in that scenario, that the father that's being portrayed there is afraid for his kid, is really, really scared of what's happening, but refuses to let that fear be how he reacts, right? Like, I refuse. I will not react out of that fear. Instead, what overrides it and what is intentional in every moment is love and his grace and his purpose, right? Like, I will deny myself fear reactions and be intentionally towards love.
Yeah. We're going to start landing the plane, but I do want to say, I think it's important to note that this is different than just being toxically positive.
Right.
And we're going to do a few more episodes talking about fear and kind of walking out, like, how do we do this? How do we navigate our fears? How do we navigate our anxieties in parenting? How do we cultivate that calm? And how do we create that love and consistency for our kids in the midst of it? And and so if you'll drop a line, drop a comment, respond with the things that you're wrestling with as a parent. Where are you on this fear and reactionary journey, and what are you finding helpful? What are you finding to be true for you?
Yeah, I think one of the things about the people that do actually listen or watch this on YouTube is that most of it are just like our families and friends, which is so cool, and we're really deeply thankful for you guys. But like,
thanks, Mom.
For those of you, right? What's up, Coach? But I do think that, like, one of the things I want those people to hear is that we're gonna kind of be intentional over the next few weeks of asking you guys what is fearful for you in parenting. I really want to hear that, and I would love for any other listener to say, like, those are the comments I'm really fascinated by. Because I think A, there's a lot of different experiences inside of it, but also B, I think there's like a communal presence that would be helpful for a lot of people to be like, oh yeah, that's me for sure. Right. I think a lot of parents can really feel heard and less alone if they knew that other people were experiencing those fears too, and that was hard for them. So like expect some crowdsourcing here over the next couple of weeks from us. We'll be annoying and ask you guys at various places what you guys experience. We love doing this. We love doing this because we love each other and we love being connected in that way. But we just love sharing this with you guys. So it's an honor and a privilege to have you guys listen and hanging out with us. And we're thankful that you do. So we're excited to keep doing this, and we will see you guys next time. Reid, enjoy it, buddy. We'll see you soon.
See you, bud.